Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest video. Today's video is going to be the top 10 cards from M21 that you're going to want to make sure you have your hands on. Let's get rolling. Coming in at number 10 is Elder Gargaroth. Elder Gargaroth is an absolute powerhouse of a card. You could even say it is a beast of a creature. Elder Gargaroth is in my top 10 because New Garruk is an S-tier Planeswalker. And as New Garruk is an S-tier Planeswalker, that means that I think everybody should have New Garruk. And as everybody should have New Garruk, that also means that everybody is going to also want to have Elder Gargaroth. Elder Gargaroth is by far the most powerful creature in New Garruk, and so you're going to want to have it. Elder Gargaroth is even stronger than Gaia's Revenge in New Garruk, because New Garruk's second ability is going to make it so that your creature has Leader Beast, and Elder Gargaroth is going to make a ton of Beast tokens, which means that you're going to be able to reinforce your creatures like nobody's business with this thing. Elder Gargaroth is amazing. Coming in at number 9 is Warstorm Surge. Warstorm Surge is the first of the exclusives that's going to be on this list. Tokens are very powerful in Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest, and Warstorm Surge makes it so that the tokens do damage to your opponent when they enter the battlefield. Now granted, it's only up to 4 times, but even though it's capped at 4, you can still get some crazy damage in against your opponent. We are losing a few of the more powerful token generators, but we're still maintaining some other really strong ones, like Thopter Spy Network and Quartzwood Crasher. Not to mention that we should be getting a new Angel token generator in Zendikar. So, very, very strong, definitely worth having. Coming in at number 8 is Chromatic Orrery. Chromatic Orrery is a little bit of an odd card, so it's 24 mana, which is a lot. But because it's going to make it so that your summative mana bonus is plus 20, it means that you're going to be able to match the game board however you want. You can match your opponent's gems instead of yours, get just as much mana, and make it so that they don't get as much mana. It's also going to activate what feels like the entire game board to draw cards, which means you're going to be drawing a ton of cards. And it also, for good measure, is also going to have, whenever you activate a loyalty ability, you convert gems. Now, because it's only converting 2 gems to each color, it kind of feels like there's no way that this thing is going to actually give you a match. But it actually gives you a match way more often than you think, which makes it quite good. Coming in at number 7 is Cultivate. Cultivate is only an uncommon, but nonetheless, it's still one of the most powerful cards in the set. It's going to convert a whole bunch of gems to your Planeswalker's colors, and it's going to fetch a land and give it half mana. Given that the upcoming Zendikar set is likely to be very land-centric, Cultivate is just going to get better than it is now, which is kind of scary to think about. The only downside to Cultivate is that the conversion is to your Planeswalker's colors, which means that if you're running a 2 or 3 color walker, you're not guaranteed to get all of the gems to convert to green. However, that being said, 2 of the tier Planeswalkers in the game are mono green in Nissa, Worldwaker, and Garruk, and so Cultivate is able to put in a heck of a lot of work with those, especially given that Song of Creation is going to be in standard for as long as Cultivate is, for the most part. So that's just going to make Cultivate even scarier. Cultivate, in spite being an uncommon, is a card that you need to have. Coming in at number 6 is Stormwing Entity. Stormwing Entity was my top chase card coming into the set, but with the objectives that we have in many of the different events, I just don't find myself using it as often as I thought I would. In spite that, it's still an incredibly strong card. It's going to benefit from you playing a bunch of spells, and in Legacy, at least, the most powerful decks are Omniscience and Green Gem Conversion, loop decks. So Stormwing Entity fits in very well with both of those decks. And in Standard, some of our best decks are going to also be Green Gem Conversion loop decks because we have Song of Creation and we have Eidolon of Blossoms. Stormwing Entity is going to buff in your hand, it's going to buff on the battlefield, it's going to become less mana in your hand for playing stuff, and it's going to draw cards to replace itself in your hand. It kind of does some of everything. It gets really strong, really fast, and is very powerful. If we see events that have more objectives based on casting spells, soon, then I would imagine that Stormwing Entity would even rise much higher on this list. At number 5, we have the second exclusive on the list. It's Angie Falconwrath. Angie is able to reinforce like nothing that has come before it, except for, leaders. But Angie is not a leader, and Angie is able to do some pretty crazy things, especially because with the way that her ability works, you're going to be able to get her to reinforce a whole bunch of times because you're probably going to want to run a whole bunch of card draw in your deck anyways. And it's really easy to get card draw that's also going to make you discard. So Angie just has a lot that you can play around her. And not only that, but Angie is only 10 mana, and Angie has a base power of 3, which fits in really nicely with a lot of our objectives in some of our events where we need to play either creatures that have a mana cost of 10 or less, or creatures that need to have a power of 3 or less. So Angie's able to fit into a lot of objectives. Coming in at number 4 is Vollrath, the Shape Stealer. Vollrath is able to make anything that reinforces a lot of times become an absolute powerhouse. So Angie, which you just saw, but also any card that has leader. So, well, not any card, right? Any non-token creature that has leader. Vollrath is going to make them power up at a rate that is so much higher than they could otherwise power up. Because most leaders or things like Angie are going to have 2, maybe 3 power. Vollrath makes that base power become 7. So you're able to buff them up. You need so much less than you would otherwise need in order to get that creature to be able to do lethal damage to your opponent. And Vollrath is just so flexible because there are so many cards that have leader. Both right now, we've got Linden in Standard, we've got Angie in Standard, and we have a whole bunch of them in Legacy. So Vollrath is one of those few cards from the set that is very powerful in both Standard and in Legacy. I love this card. If you don't have it, you definitely are going to want to have it. Coming in at number 3 is Fiery Emancipation. I would imagine that some of you who are watching this might feel like, what? This should be like number 1 or 2. But you see, the thing about Fiery Emancipation is that it kills your opponent so fast that there really aren't that many events that you actually want to use this card. I had a game where the game ended in 30 seconds from when I hit start to when it said you win, right? Or I guess it says victory. But one ball lightning does 120 damage to your opponent with a Fiery Emancipation down. Fiery Emancipation is very, very strong. It costs a lot of mana, which is a downside, and it kills your opponent too fast, which is kind of odd to say that that's why I'm putting it lower down on the list, but I'm thinking of how do I play these cards in events. That being said, for things like the training grounds and for some PvE matches, having this card is amazing. If you don't have it, you want it. There's no question about that. Coming in at number 2 is Avatar of Growth. I went back and forth with my 1 and 2 options a lot. Avatar of Growth is just such a good card. It converts gems, it gives you 2 free lands, and it has a solid power toughness body. So it kind of is like a best of all worlds. Even if you play this thing and your opponent kills it, spending 16 mana to get 2 lands and convert gems to green isn't really that bad. It's actually quite good, as most lands are going to cost you, like the decent lands right now are going to cost you like 8 or 10, assuming gates go out, which they do. So, but Zendikar, which is once again going to be probably a land-centric set, the Avatar of Growth might wind up getting even better. So this might wind up becoming the number 1 card when Zendikar comes out. Who knows? It's amazing though. You need to have it. This is by far the best masterpiece in this set. And coming in at number 1 should be no surprise to anyone. It's Leafkin Avenger. This card does so much. It's the most scary card in the set. If you go up against this card or you go up against a mono green deck, you kind of almost have to assume that you're going up against this card and you need to have a way of stopping it. It does damage every time you convert 3 gems to green, and it does damage equal to its power, not its base power. Although even if it was based on its base power, it would still be scary. As I said earlier in the video, the most powerful decks in Legacy are going to be Green Gem Conversion and Omniscience. This thing makes Legacy Green Gem Conversion just an absolute laugher. You kill your opponent so fast. It's terrifying. It does so much damage. And then in Standard, because of stuff like Song of Creation and Eidolon of Blossoms, which Eidolon conveniently converts 3 to green, and this thing only needs you to convert 3 to green, you are going to kill your opponent so fast, I would be very surprised if most of you who are listening to this have not lost a match to a Leafkin Avenger deck. I've gotten within my opponent making one more convert 3 to green to losing to this. Fortunately, I haven't lost a match myself to it yet, but I've gotten very close. This card has an incredible amount of power. Absolutely incredible amount of power. So that does it for my top 10. If there are any other cards that are in your top 10 that I didn't mention, go ahead and include them in the comments section. I was thinking of adding like an honorary few, just because Baneslayer Angel and Terror of the Peaks are about as strong as Elder Gargaroth, but Elder Gargaroth has Garruk, so I chose that one as my number 10. If you like this video, if you like this type of video where I'm making a top 10 list, please let me know. Put that in the comments. This is the first time I'm making one of these. I am thinking of trying to make one for the top 10 cards that are in standard right now, or that will be in standard following the shift when Zendikar comes, and also which are the top 10 cards that will be leaving standard to legacy, so which will be the top 10 cards that will still be good in legacy. So let me know. Thank you, as always, for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.